What up, guys and fellow lovers of the keyboard world? Welcome back to another Redstone video with me, George, of course. And today it's gonna be a Redstone tutorial. What I'm gonna do in this video, because I'm gonna show you how to build 3 extra modules for your tunnel board, for your simple tunnel board. As you may know or may not know, recently I posted a video about how to make a tunnel board. Well, it was a tutorial, so a block by block tutorial about how to make a simple and cheap tunnel board, and this is it. This is the one that we built in that video. This is the very world actually that I included in the world download for that video. Just with a few modifications, I have built another tunnel board here on the side. This is where you were well, you had a bit of area to follow through and follow along for the tutorial. So I have copied this tunnel board and built it here. So as you can see, we have 4 modules there, 4 modules here, and we have this small one here in the middle. That's because we are gonna build 3 extra modules for your tunnel board to make it even better than it is. And 2 of those modules are only worth to build if you have like a larger tunnel board. If you have just 1 module or 2 modules, then just one of the modules is gonna be kind of worthy to put the time and build them. And the module that I decided to start with is one that you actually guys asked me for in the comments of the tunnel board tutorial. So yeah, I decided to start with that one because I was very excited that some of you actually liked the tunnel board very much. And by the way, thank you for choosing my tunnel board. uh, so yeah, we're gonna start with that one, and we're gonna start building it in this little tunnel board that we have here at the side. And this first module is a second input module. So if you watched the previous tutorial of the tunnel board, you might know that we have a single input for this tunnel board, and it's this node block. If you haven't watched it, you can watch it right now actually, and I will leave it up there on your top right corner of your screen in a little info card for you to just click on it and go to the video to watch it. Anyways, if you did watch it, you might know that this is the single input for the tunnel board. So if we right click on this node block, the whole tunnel board is going to move forward by 1 block, and it's going to throw the TNT right here forward and blast away a little area here that eventually, if we use enough the tunnel board, it's going to create a huge tunnel as large or as long as you actually use the tunnel board. But anyways, the way it worked was we click on the input, we kind of wait for the TNT to blow up, and then we traverse throughout the little hole that we just created, see if there are any exposed ores, see if there's any lava, water, or whatever, cover it up, mine the ores, and do all that, and then go back to the input to trigger it again. So that might be a little bit of a hassle for those of you who build a bigger tunnel board or longer tunnel board, just as that one with 13 modules or even one with 30 modules, because I just learned that some of you would actually build a bigger one. But anyways, yeah, if you have a larger one, then it may be a hassle to have to use rockets to come back to the first input and use it again, and then do that again, and then come back. So instead, the way to fix it is to have a second input at the end of the tunnel board, right? So we use this input, we check out if there are any ores, any water or lava or whatever, and end up in this end of the tunnel board. And instead of having to return, we just right click and node block on this side, use the tunnel board, and then check if there are any ores coming back to the first input. So that's what we're gonna do right now. So let's start the tutorial, shall we, guys? So first of all, the way we're gonna build the other input on the other side is kind of mimicking this first input right here. So if you notice, actually this block is unnecessary. If you notice, we have an air gap between this glass block of the TNT duper and the node block of the input. So we're gonna start by doing that on this side. We leave a temporary block right there, which is gonna account for the air gap. Then we put our node block, where we place our observer facing into the front, our sticky piston here at the side facing to the back. Then we're gonna place our slime block here at the bottom. Then we place 3 slime blocks here below the node block. Observer here below the middle slime block facing into a piston facing to the front. That's gonna push that slime block right there. And that's basically it. We already knew how to build this, by the way, because we built it in the tunnel board originally, right? So the next thing is what's gonna be different for this. So the next thing that we have to do is kind of connect both inputs together. So there's kind of two cases in this tunnel board. The first one is we click on this input, the second input we're gonna call it, and the tunnel board moves, right? And the first case, or the second case, is that we click on the first input, which is the original input right here, and the tunnel board moves. But if we click on that input in the first input, we also need to move the second input forward, but we do not have to trigger the first input again by sending back the signal, which is kind of tricky, but we'll see how we do it. And if we click on this second input, we have to move the first input forward, but we don't have to retrigger this second input, because otherwise we would trigger the tunnel board twice in a row, like very fast, and you know that's fatal for the tunnel board. If we click on the node block too fast, then two TNTs get duped and the whole thing blows up, right? So what we're gonna do, what we're gonna start doing is kinda sending the signal that way. And the way we do it is by adding two slime blocks in a column right below that slime block here at the top. Then we add one other slime block here at the bottom and a redstone block here at the back with a sticky piston that's gonna extend here to the back. Then we're gonna kind of build an L shape here with slime blocks, with three slime blocks. Now notice how this slime block is facing into the tunnel board and not to the outside. That's very important. Then we need to build a piston right there and an observer facing into it right on top of that slime block. Then we're going to kind of close this with some slime blocks here, and then we're going to extend this line of slime blocks with four more slime blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to finish it off with a block of redstone. Now we're going to leave it there for a moment. The next thing that we're going to do is place a slime block here at the side of this sticky piston, and for now we're going to leave it there. And we're gonna leave it there because now we have to work on the logic here at the top. How do we send a signal here to this node block from the other side so that it triggers and advances one block, but also not send a signal through this line all the way back so that the other input triggers again? So it's kind of tricky to explain, but in the end it's really simple to do. So we have already a line, actually two redstone lines that send a signal from this input to all the way to the other side. The first one is up here. This pushes the TNT dupers and it's the fastest one. The second one is down here, which pushes the TNT handlers, and it's a bit slower. So we kind of prefer to use the faster one, right? Which is the one we're gonna use. So we're gonna kind of recycle this line that instantly triggers all of the TNT dupers to send a signal to this input, this second input. And the way we're gonna do it is kind of extending the tunnel board. So you remember on the other tutorial we extended the tunnel board by placing a slime block there and a redstone block there. Well, we're gonna do something similar, but instead of the slime block there, we're gonna place the redstone directly next to that slime block that we had already in the tunnel board. The next thing we have to do is place a sticky piston facing backward right next to that redstone block, and a slime block and an observer right in front of the face of that sticky piston. And of course the observer has to go into or facing into the slime block because it's gonna trigger this piston, and this piston will push a slime block that will be at the bottom of this sticky piston. The next thing that we have to do is grab 5 normal blocks, and we're gonna place them here on top of this slime block on top of the pistons, and continuing the line 3 more blocks like that, actually 2 more blocks like that, so that makes it 5. And again, a normal block, I've already mentioned this in the other tutorial, but with a normal block I'm referring to a block that's complete or it's full, so not like a chest that it's a bit smaller than a full block. So this has to be a full block. It also has to be movable by pistons and has to be able to stick to slime. So for example, glass blocks or glowstone or solid blocks like iron blocks. But anyways, I'm gonna use glass blocks for this. The next thing we're gonna do is come here to the front of this line that we just placed and place an observer facing into the front into a solid block, just like that. Now this is the whole logic of the system. If we trigger the tunnel board with the first input, it's gonna send the signal through this line, and it's gonna trigger this line of blocks, and it's gonna push it forward. And the observer is gonna trigger this no block whenever this solid block touches it. This would already kind of trigger this input and move it forward. And then this input is gonna pull this line of slime blocks that we're gonna work in right now, and it's gonna pull it forward, and it's gonna kind of send the signal back to the first input. We'll see in a moment how we stop that signal from reaching the first input. Whew, that was a mouthful, guys. But anyways, let's get into another mouthful and let's continue the tutorial, right? Well, we left this line of slime blocks with a redstone block here at the end, but now we'll return to it. So what we're gonna do next is add a sticky piston right here. We're gonna add 3 slime blocks like this and one in front of the piston, forming an L shape and kind of surrounding the sticky piston. Then we're gonna come to this side. We're gonna place an observer on top of this slime block here in the corner and place a piston right in front of the observer, facing into the front. Then we're gonna place a a slime block on top of this sticky piston, and then we're gonna extend the slime block line by 5 more slime blocks in a line just like that, and we're gonna place a block of redstone to finish it off. Now we're gonna repeat the same process that we just did a few times, depending on how long your tunnel bore is, because some of you will have done a very long tunnel bore, and if you did, you have to repeat this process quite a few times. I just have to repeat it twice because this is a shorter tunnel bore. So I'm gonna repeat it once more. So we start with our sticky piston right next to that redstone block. We surround it with an L shape of slime blocks. We come to this side, place an observer on top of that corner slime block, facing into a piston facing forward, into a slime block that will be pushed by it after. Then we're gonna place 5 more slime blocks in a line right here and finish it off with a redstone block. Now, as I said, you have to repeat this as many times as you need to get closer to this first input. I'm already quite close. If I were to repeat it once more, we would touch this piston right here and we would ruin everything because all the machine would break. So instead, I'm going to leave it there and I'm going to continue building here on the input. So we're gonna start building here on top of this first input, and we're gonna start by putting a temporary block here and a solid block here on top of it. Then we're gonna place a observer facing into the solid block right on top of this redstone block, and we're gonna place 6 normal blocks in a line right behind this observer. And as you can see, it's already kind of looking like the one that we built on the other side. And this is basically how we stop the signal of the second input to reaching the first input and kind of creating a loop, right? Because we don't want that. So whenever we trigger the tunnel board from this input, it's going to advance. The whole input is going to advance forward by 1 block. It's going to send the signal through this line, and it's going to make this input advance 1 block. As you can see, this whole thing gets pushed, triggers the node block, and it advances 1 block. The thing is, it also pulls this line of redstone down here that will push this line of blocks. We'll see how in a second. And yeah, if this this first input hadn't moved forward already, this solid block would trigger the input again. But since it's already kind of here, it will be already kind of here, that no block, this solid block moves forward and there's nothing here to power, kind of like it is right here. And if we do that vice versa, if we trigger the tunnel board from the second input, but the same happens on this side and returns the signal to that side, but of course without triggering twice. So that's how it works. It's a bit complicated, but kind of easy to do, as I said. So what we're going to do is come here to the side of the 6th block that we placed, and we're going to place 3 more slime blocks like that, and an extra one here at the bottom of the last one. Then we're going to place 2 temporary blocks here on top, to the side or at the back of this corner slime block. And then we're going to place a piston facing forward right at the bottom of that last temporary block. The next thing that we're gonna do is place 3 slime blocks here at the bottom of this piston and 2 more slime blocks here in this formation right next to that bottom slime block. Then we're gonna place an observer facing into a piston just like that on top of these 2 slime blocks. And as you can see, we are quite close already from that redstone input. So to finish the connection with this redstone input, it's actually very easy. We're gonna kind of copy this module here, but without the huge extension of slime blocks. So we're gonna place a sticky piston here. We're gonna surround it by slime blocks, our observer right there, and our piston right here, and of course our slime block. And as you can see, we're quite close already. And if we add one more slime block and a redstone block, then we can place the sticky piston here with the slime block, and as you can see, it's all connected. Now, one thing I'm missing is one last observer that would go right here, but I left it here at the end because this observer could change to be right here if you are gonna build any of the other modules right next to this module as well, right? So if you want to combine modules with this one, the second input module, and for example the ice road making module or the flooding module, you have to put this observer here at the back of this slime block instead of here at the side. By the way, this observer has to be facing into the slime block to power that piston. And that's basically it, guys. The whole module is done. I hope that wasn't too bad, guys, or too complicated. I hope I explained myself well, or at least well enough for you to understand. I like to explain how everything works in my contraptions in case you want to modify it yourselves to your needs, and well, in case you are kind of learning Redstone, then you know what's happening within the contraption and why I did each thing the way I did that. But anyways, if we hit this first input, we know that the tunnel board will trigger because that's the one we already had. But if we click on the second one, it should also trigger the same way that it would trigger with the first input, as you can see. And you can basically use any input that you like to trigger the tunnel board, and it should work just fine, as you can see. Of course, the same warning as in the last episode, do not click at input twice in a row like super fast. You have to click it once and then wait for the TNT to blow up to click it again. And also do not trigger the tunnel board with both inputs at the same time. It's kind of the same problem. So you have to trigger it with one input one time, and then after the TNT has blown up, then you can trigger it again with that same input or with the other input on the other side. But do not try to click on both inputs at the same time, because your whole TNT tunnel board it's gonna blow up. Alright, so let's move on to the next module that I'm gonna teach you how to build, which is gonna be Ice Road Maker, and I'm gonna do it on this single module because it's kind of simple and you only need one module to build it, right? By the way, this past module, the double input module, was the largest one, and so I'm hoping that with the next ones I don't have to talk as much and I don't have to spend as much time on them. So we're gonna start with this one, and we're gonna start by placing a sticky piston here at the bottom of this slime block. Now notice how this slime block is the one that pulls this piston here for the pushing of one of the TNT dupers, and we have that same slime block various times in a tunnel board. Here we have one, here we have one, here we have one, so it's not difficult to identify it. So we're gonna grab the one that is at the first module, or in the first module, and it's this one right here. We're gonna place a sticky piston here at its back. Now the next thing we're gonna do is place on the face of this sticky piston a line of slime blocks. This is gonna be a line of 10 slime blocks. So we're gonna place the first one there, and we're gonna come to the side, so that's 2, and then we're gonna continue to the back. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 slime blocks. Now here at the bottom of these 2 last ones, we're gonna place an observer and a piston, actually a sticky piston, facing to the back. The reason why this slime block line is so large is because we have to avoid this module of the flying machine here, of the counter flying machine or the timer flying machine. So yeah, we can extend it all the way here, and this slime block, or this sticky piston, sorry, it's gonna pull another line of slime blocks. This is gonna be a line of 5 slime blocks, just like that. Actually, I got mistaken. It's a 4 slime blocks and the 5th slime block goes on this side. Sorry. The next thing that we're gonna do is place an observer here at the side of this sticky piston and another on the other side. Then we're gonna place a temporary block and another observer here at the edge of this slime block line. Then we're gonna come to the bottom and we're gonna place 3 sticky pistons right at the bottom of the slime blocks that have that observer as well. Then we're gonna grab ourselves some stir blocks and we're gonna place 3 temporary blocks at the face of those 3 sticky pistons, and then we're gonna place 3 stir blocks in front of those temporary blocks. And after that, we're gonna place on the 2 stir blocks at the edges, we're gonna place in front of them a stir block facing sideways into the contraption, just like this. And in front of this middle stir block, we're gonna just place a normal block. Now in front of this normal block, we're going to place a slime block and we're going to place 3 more slime blocks here at the bottom, covering those stir block, glass block and also slime block. And then we're going to place 2 normal blocks on either side of these 2 slime blocks here at the bottom and 2 normal blocks here on the sides of this slime block right here. This is to make a water source creator. So actually, if you want already, you can actually waterlog these 3 stir blocks that we have placed here at the front. By the way, I'm using these 2 stir blocks here at the edges to kind of modify this stir block here to be a cornered stir. So the reason why is because that way we can prevent the water from flowing to the outside of the stir and also to the back here, because otherwise it wouldn't create the water sources, the infinite water sources that we have here in the middle blocks. Finally, what we'll do is create the part that actually creates the ice. So we're gonna come here to the back and we're gonna place a sticky piston here on top of the middle slime block, and then we're gonna place 2 slime blocks just like that and 2 other slime blocks here. This is a temporary slime block because actually we're gonna remove it after we place another slime block on top of it. Then we're gonna grab 2 obsidian blocks and we're gonna place one at the side of this piston in the middle of these 2 pistons, and another one here in front of it, just like so. That's just so that this slime block doesn't stick to them. You can also use glaze terracotta or leaf blocks. Then we're gonna grab 2 normal blocks and we're gonna place them here at the back of those obsidian blocks. Then we're gonna grab ourselves an armor stand and some boots. It can be any type of boots. I'm gonna use diamond boots and I'm gonna enchant them with Frostwalker 1. Be careful because it has to be Frostwalker 1. If you're gonna use Frostwalker 2, you have to move the armor stand 1 block back. So we're gonna extend this and the armor stand should be on this block. And that also means that this line block should be extended, and of course the one with the armor stand below should be also here, and this one should be down here. But for now, we're just gonna use Frostwalker 1 because it's easier to get and it's easier to build the contraption. It's kind of more compact. And what we're gonna do is place a temporary piston facing downward on top of that slime block, and we're gonna push the slime block down so that it glitches into the armor stand, and the armor stand upper part is gonna be inside of the slime block so that whenever we trigger the machine, it will pull the armor stand to the front. And that's basically it, guys. The whole module is done. As I said, this is a very small one. This is the ice road maker, so of course we need to trigger it a few times so that the ice road starts forming. By the way, I have my world kind of set up right now to nighttime because the frosted ice, the ice, the kind of ice that we're making with the Frostwalker boots, melts in a light level of 11, which means that at broad daylight it won't work, it will all melt. And when the frosted ice melts, it kind of creates a chain reaction which makes all the frosted ice to melt. But at nighttime we have the perfect light level so that the frosted ice doesn't melt. But of course, when you are using the tunnel board, you are way underground, which means that no light will actually touch this part. So also be careful to not use any torches around the frosted ice so it will melt. But if we trigger this thing a few times, we should see the whole thing being pulled up. And after a few times, we'll start seeing the frosted ice being formed. And like that, we can just use our chest boat, fill it with the shulker boxes of all the things that we got from the tunnel board, and easily get out of the tunnel board. Now, as you can see, we can. Oh, well, if you do that, we'll fall, right? Because oh wow, that glitched through the glass. That was weird. But yeah, you would fall because there's nothing here. But as long as you are within the ice tunnel, within the ice road, it doesn't matter if you drive in the middle of the of both ice rows, I guess, because the boat is kind of fat, so it occupies more than one block, which means that it doesn't matter where you are, you're gonna be having the effect of the ice, the slippery ice, and also you won't fall through this gap of blocks. But that's it for the ice road maker. And the last module is one that I actually like a lot, is a floodder or an ocean maker as many people call it. And basically what it does is it creates a water stream or water sources behind the tunnel bore all the way back from where you started to where you are using the tunnel bore, and that way it mob proofs the area behind you, and you don't have to place torches every so often. So it's very cool, and well, it uses this same module that we used for the ice road maker, which means that you can actually use the floodder plus the ice road maker together. And well, in the end, you can actually use the three modules together if you want. I'll show you a way to do it. But we'll start making this same module here at the back of that fly machine, except for this last part with the obsidian blocks, the normal blocks, the armor stand, and these four slime blocks and sticky piston. So let me do that over there. It's done. So I basically built the same module just without the frosting ice bit here at the back. So right now we only have the water source maker, and as you can see, all of these are water sources, of course. And well, of course, I extended the line. By the way, something I forgot to mention on the other one is that if you are gonna mix in this module with the one of the double input, you might need to, or well, you actually will need to move this line of slime blocks a bit. So instead of making the turn here, you're gonna have to do it over here, just like so. You keep your straight line of slime blocks of 2, 4, 6 slime blocks, and then you make a turn and do 4 more. Otherwise, if you just want the floodder or the ice road maker without the double input, this is completely fine. And well, the rest of the flutter is actually very simple to make, and you're gonna have to repeat the same process for each of the modules that we have here pushing the TNT dupers. So again, we're gonna use this slime block here at the back of the TNT dupers. Easy to recognize, observer and glass block, and then piston on top of it. We're gonna place a sticky piston at the back of each of these, because we're gonna have a module for each of the pistons that we put. So yeah, a sticky piston at the back of these ones, and all of the modules are gonna be the same except for the very first one and the very last one, which are gonna be a bit different, just a tiny bit different. We're gonna place 3 slime blocks. If you are gonna mix this module with the double input module, you're gonna have to do actually 8 slime blocks instead of just 3. But for now, we're just gonna do 3. And the next thing we're gonna do is place at the bottom of these 2 slime blocks an observer and a sticky piston. Same you would do if you extended the line of slime blocks up to here. Right at the bottom of the 2 last slime blocks, you place this observer and sticky piston. And then you're gonna place kind of a horseshoe shape with slime blocks in front of the face of that sticky piston, just like this. Then we're gonna place 2 observers surrounding this sticky piston, just like so. Then we're gonna come down here and we're gonna place 2 sticky pistons here at the bottom of these 2 last slime blocks, with 2 more slime blocks in a column, just like that. Then we're gonna come here to the back and we're gonna place 2 more sticky pistons right in front of those sticky pistons that we had just placed. We're gonna grab ourselves some stairs. We're gonna place a temporary block and another temporary block in front of those sticky piston faces. Then we're gonna place our stair blocks, and the same way we did for that module over there, we're gonna kind of modify these stair blocks to be a cornered stair block by placing another stair block here at the front. facing sideways into the flying machine or whatever. The next thing we're gonna do is grab some slime blocks, and we're gonna place one here at the side of these stair blocks, and we're gonna cover the bottom of these two stair blocks and that slime block with three more slime blocks. Then we're gonna place two normal blocks right at the side of those two slime blocks, and another one right at the side of this one. From here, you can already waterlog these corner stairs just as we did with the previous one, and we can already see that a water source is being formed right there. Then we're going to come to this side, and this is the part that's going to be different for this module. So the rest of the modules, we just have to add two normal blocks here at the back of these slime blocks. But for this one, instead of having the normal block here at the back of this slime block, we're going to have another two slime blocks and a normal block here to the side. What this will do is that it will extend the water and will eventually make it merge with the water of this module right here, so that we don't have any empty spots. All is covered with water. Sorry. All right, guys. So if you copy the same module over and over for each of the modules that you have in your TNT tunnel board, you can see that all of them are the same and all of them should work, except for the first one, which is not the same. Of course, we don't have the glass block there. I've already showed this. We extend it a little bit so that the water spreads a bit farther away and it can merge with this one eventually. And also the last one is kind of different. It's the same most for the most part, but as you can see, instead of having the horseshoe shape centered with the sticky piston here at the front, we have it one block shifted to the left. So the sticky piston is where the observer originally would be, right? And the observer, we move it back here, facing into the slime block, into this slime block, so that it can power those two pistons. And here at the back, it's exactly the same thing as with the other ones. By the way, this is the exact world that I'm gonna include in the world download. It has the three modules here in the same way, ordered in the same way as I showed them to you in the tutorial, and it also has the big TNT tunnel board of 100 blocks long right here, using the three modules together. So we have the double input, we have one input here, and also the line down here that sends the signal back to the first input from this the second input that we have here. So we have the double input module, we have the water ocean maker, or however you want to call it, back here. All the modules, as I said, if we want to mix it in with the double input module, we have to extend the line of slime blocks that we use. Instead of 3, we have to do 8. Otherwise, these two slime blocks would stick together. And finally, back here, we also have in the first flutter module, we have also the armor stand module with the ice road maker. So yeah, if we want to use it a few times, we can with any of the inputs, and eventually these water modules that back here are gonna create water sources that would merge into a big ocean. Let me show you. So how does that look, guys? Yeah, this is the same world, just a bit afterward, and I have tested all of the modules. Actually, no, I lied. Only this module, because I reset the other ones. By the way, your world in the world download, it's gonna be reset. It's gonna have these two these three the way they are right now, and this one, of course, back here the way I showed you a minute earlier. But as you can see, this big module has all of the modules together. It has double input. Sometimes I use that one, sometimes I use this one, and it worked a charm. We also have the flutter that creates this type of ocean. It's not all still water. As you can see, we have some currents because it's not all water sources. But also we have the ice road maker here beside the flutter. And a cool thing is the way the water spreads, it actually leaves a water stream below this ice road, which means that you actually have spawn proofed also below the ice road. So I think it's pretty neat. And yeah, guys, that's all for the add-ons that you can add to your tunnel board. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. I hope you find it useful. Hopefully you you find the tunnel bore a bit more useful even with these items that I just show you. And if you want to copy them, you have the world download down in the description. You can also watch the tutorial very closely and that way copy each of them individually. If you want to mix them up all together, I suggest you first check the world download, check everything that we have here, and afterward then you just build it in your world. By the way, one last suggestion: if you're gonna build any of these modules, they kind of occupy some space behind the tunnel bore, which means that you're gonna have to use the tunnel bore a few times before actually building them, so that you have a bit of room behind it, so that you can use for the modules. The only one that actually doesn't use any extra room is this first one, the double input one, but the rest of them, they do use a bit of area behind the tunnel bore. So that's that. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, if you find it useful, please hit the thumbs up down below. Also consider subscribing for more content like this one. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!